welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to unpack some really fascinating details from Thermo Fisher Scientific. We're looking at their second quarter 2025 conference call and the press release that went with it.
That's right.
Now, earnings calls, they can sometimes feel like just a wall of numbers. But our goal here is to find those sort of strategic nuggets that tell us what's really happening at the forefront of science and healthcare.
Yeah, exactly.
Our mission is to go beyond the raw data, really understand what's driving one of the world's leading science companies. So why should you, our listener, care about this particular deep dive?
Well, it's more than just a financial report, right? It's kind of a window into how this company that's all about serving science is navigating, well, everything that's going on globally right now.
Okay.
They're pushing innovation, shaping the future of healthcare research. And we're going to pull out the key bits of info straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Give you that informed view.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with those headline numbers for Q2 2025. What did they report?
Okay, so total revenue came in at $10.85 billion.
Which is up, what, 3%?
Yeah, a solid 3% increase. And their adjusted operating income, $2.38 billion. That's up 1%.
Okay. And earnings per share?
Right, so adjusted EPS was $5.36, and the GAAP EPS, that standard figure, was $4.28.
And that GAAP number was up 6% year over year.
That's it, a 6% increase from last year.
So those numbers, especially the adjusted ones that smooth things out, pretty decent.
They are, and what's really interesting, like you said, is that these results were actually ahead of guidance.
In this kind of uncertain global market, that's notable.
It really is. It suggests this wasn't just luck. It points to their active management and that proven growth strategy they always talk about.
Which includes their PPI system, right? The practical process improvement.
Exactly. That internal system for, efficiency and cost management, it seems to be more than just talk. It looks like a real competitive advantage, letting them perform well, even when things are tough out there.
Right, sort of strategic agility in action.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Okay, so strong headlines ahead of guidance. But the scientific world is complex. Are they seeing this kind of performance everywhere? Or is it different depending on the market?
That's a great question because yeah, the picture is definitely mixed.
Okay.
If you look at pharma and biotech, they actually saw positive mid-single-digit growth.
Mid-single digits, okay.
Yeah, which they called a nice sequential step up. Apparently the best they've seen in 9 quarters.
Wow. What drove that?
Mostly strong performance in bioproduction, manufacturing biologics, and their pharma services businesses, plus the research and safety channel.
Makes sense.
And even their clinical research side, which does the trials, showed slightly positive growth. They highlighted very strong authorization growth there, which is a good leading indicator. Lots of approvals for future studies.
Okay, so pharma and biotech looking pretty strong. What about other areas?
Well, moving to academic and government, it was a different story. Revenue there saw a mid-single-digit decline.
A decline. Why is that?
The company put it down to customer hesitancy. Basically, in a more uncertain environment, universities and government labs are a bit cautious, leading to muted demand for equipment and instruments.
Okay, that tracks with general uncertainty in industrial and applied.
That segment played out as expected, they said. Growth declined in the low single digits.
So down a bit, but expected.
Right. But they did point out good growth in the research and safety market channel within that segment.
Right. And the last one, diagnostics and healthcare.
Also a slight dip, a low single-digit decline in revenue. They
Yeah.
mainly pointed to headwinds in China for that one.
China challenges impacting them there.
Yeah. But on the plus side, they flagged strong growth in their transplant diagnostic business as a key positive within that segment.
Okay, so definitely a mixed bag. Pharma, biotech, strong. Academic, government, soft. Others kind of in between with specific bright spots.
Exactly. It really shows the complexity they're navigating.
So how do they manage that? How do they find consistent success with such different conditions across markets? What's their sort of core approach?
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? They really lean on what they call their 3 strategic pillars.
Okay, the pillars. What's the first one?
First is high-impact innovation, and they mean high impact. They're not just tweaking things, they're launching really cutting-edge stuff.
Like what? Any examples jump out?
Oh, yeah. At a big conference, ASMS, they unveiled new mass spectrometers, the Thermo Scientific Orbitrap Astral Zoom and Exedion Pro.
Mass specs. Those are the super precise molecular scales.
Exactly. Crucial tools for identifying molecules. These new ones are aimed at advancing precision medicine, helping find therapies for diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer.
And the reaction.
Apparently really positive. Some customers called the Astral Zoom a paradigm shift.
Wow, okay. That's strong language.
It is. They also launched a new cryotem, the Krios 5. That's an ultra-powerful electron microscope for visualizing biological stuff right down at the atomic level.
So deeper insights into biology and disease.
Precisely. And for bioproduction, they expanded their DynaDrive single-use bioreactor line with a first-of-its-kind bench-scale system. Helps customers scale up making new therapies more efficiently.
Okay, so innovation is definitely a big piece. What's pillar number 2?
That's their trusted partner status. This isn't something you build overnight. It's that long-term relationship, that deep integration with their customers.
And you see that playing out now.
Definitely. Especially in pharma and biotech, they have this thing called the Accelerated Drug Development Solution.
What does that do?
It basically integrates their pharma services and clinical research parts to, well, take time and cost out of the drug development process. They even mentioned the Tufts Center for the Study of Drug Development validated its impact.
So it's about streamlining that whole complex process.
Right. And in today's world, it means helping customers expand drug production capacity in the U.S., supporting reshoring, even using AI aggressively to speed up clinical trial timelines.
AI in clinical trials.
Yeah. And a concrete example of this partnership, they just did a deal with Sanofi, acquiring a sterile fill-finish site in New Jersey, directly addressing that need for more U.S. manufacturing.
Got it. Trusted partner. Okay, what's the third pillar?
The third one is that PPI business system we mentioned earlier, practical process improvement.
Right, the efficiency engine.
Exactly. They call it a key enabler of strong execution and a driver of competitive advantage, in practical terms. It's how they adjust supply chains to handle things like tariffs.
Ah, okay. Very relevant now.
Very. And how they aggressively manage the cost base. The impact is pretty significant. They found an additional $300 million in cost cuts for 2025 since they first gave guidance.
An extra $300 million. That's substantial.
It is. And they're also weaving AI into this, using it to serve customers better, streamline internal stuff, and cut costs further.
So these 3 pillars, the innovation, the partnership, the relentless efficiency, is the core formula. It feels less like just selling equipment and more like being embedded in the whole scientific process.
That's exactly it. They position themselves as an integrated solution provider. It builds loyalty, but also, makes it harder for competitors. It's interesting how, even at this scale, focusing on process improvement still yields big results.
Absolutely. It's fundamental.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how they're operating now. Let's look ahead. What's on the horizon? What's their outlook?
Right. So for the updated 2025 guidance reflecting that strong Q2, they've actually raised their outlook for the full year.
Raise it. Okay. To what?
They're now expecting revenue between $43.6 billion and $44.2 billion.
Okay.
And adjusted EPS between $22.22 and $22.84. That's a $0.23 at the midpoint.
A decent increase. Margins, too.
Yep, adjusted operating margin outlook also up to between 22.5% and 22.7%. They put this down to the Q2 beat and their continued active management, including more cost actions planned for the rest of the year.
And what about those U.S.-China tariffs you mentioned?
Good question. They said the impact in Q2 was actually less bad than they'd feared.
Oh.
Yeah. So while they're keeping the second half outlook conservative because things are, fluid.
Understandable.
They did suggest there's likely upside if the tariff situation stays as it is now.
Okay. Potential good news there. What about further out, say, the next couple of years?
For the near term, 2026 to 2027, they're projecting organic revenue growth in the range of 3% to 6%.
3 to 6%. Where are they now in that range?
They acknowledge they're currently at the low end, but they expect that to accelerate.
What needs to happen for that acceleration? What are the assumptions?
Key assumptions are the academic and government market starts to gradually build back from this slump and stabilizes.
Okay.
Clinical research picks up momentum based on those strong authorizations they're seeing now, and the economy in China sort of flattens out, stops being such a headwind.
Makes sense. And operating income growth during that time.
They're aiming for mid to high single-digit adjusted operating income growth. Plan is to get there through working closely with customers, keeping up the cost management via PPI, and being smart about capital deployment.
Okay, that's the near-term picture. What about the really long view? beyond 2027.
The long-term vision.
Yeah.
This is where they get quite ambitious. They're talking about 7% plus organic revenue growth.
7% plus. Wow, that is ambitious long term.
It is. But they sound pretty convinced. They point to the huge need for improved healthcare globally, the incredible scientific breakthroughs happening.
Yeah, the underlying demand is there.
Exactly. And the excitement they hear from their pharma and biotech clients about their drug pipelines tackling these big unmet needs. Their math basically assumes the overall market grows around 4%, and they gain an extra 2-3 points on top of that through market share gains.
So continued outperformance based on those pillars we discussed.
That's the plan.
Now that 7% plus goal, it sounds great, but what are the potential, bumps in the road? What could make that challenging?
That's fair. I mean, potential headwinds are definitely there. Continued geopolitical issues messing with supply chains or market access, like we've seen with China.
Sure.
Also, if that academic and government spending doesn't bounce back like they hope, that could drag things down.
So how do they plan to handle those risks?
It really comes back to what we've been talking about. The agility from their PPI system to manage costs and adapt. Their focus on high-impact innovation that customers really need, and being that indispensable, trusted partner, they believe their diverse business and essential role give them resilience.
Relying on those core strengths. Okay, that makes sense. And shifting gears slightly, there was a quick mention of a leadership change.
Yeah, just a note on that. Their CFO, Stephen Williamson, is planning to retire in March 2026.
Okay.
And Jim Meyer is set to take over. They presented it as a long-planned transition, highlighting their internal talent bench. So, sound like a smooth handoff is expected.
Good to have that continuity. All right, so we've really dug in today. We've transformed, hopefully, some dense financial stuff into actionable insights.
Yeah, I think so.
We've seen Thermo Fisher's excellent operational performance, especially beating guidance. We talked about how that trusted partner status is a real competitive edge.
Definitely.
And their outlook, while facing challenges, seems confident and actively managed.
Absolutely. And understanding how a company like this operates, it really gives you a unique view on, where business, science, and global health kind of intersect. Their mission, enabling customers to make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. You can really see it reflected in their strategy and innovation.
It really resonates. So for you, our listener, here's something to think about. What does this deep dive into Thermo Fisher's strategy reveal about the power of sustained innovation and partnership in tackling the world's biggest challenges? And maybe, how does that shape your own view of where science and healthcare might be headed?